one of the canards, one of the myths that underlie much American political discourse is the belief that Barack Obama is the embodiment of liberalism or moderate liberalism, and that the policies in his administration represent the apotheosis of liberalism. Now, there are many very powerful interests that are vested in this phony left-right divide between Republicans and Democrats. The Democrats representing the left and liberalism and socialism, and the right representing conservative values. But in fact, if you strip away this rhetorical coding, this rhetorical patina, if you will, what you find is that Barack Obama is in essence a conservative, a Republican, a right-winger as far as his policies go. Now, I could talk about foreign policy where he has clearly outrighted many of Bush's policies. So, for example, he's doubled the American presence in Afghanistan to the applause of neoconservatives. He has increased drone attacks in Yemen and in Pakistan. Of course, the war in Libya and the increase in executive power and executive control over foreign policy and the war-making ability, that is all anathema and directly opposed to liberalism. But increasingly domestically, we're seeing that as well, that he has adopted a conservative right-wing stance, not only with healthcare, where he basically adopted Romney's plan, a Republican, and a plan that was put forward by the Heritage Foundation in the mid-1990s, but also with this debt ceiling negotiations. So check this out. First graph, Nate Silver, New York Times. He's using Gallup poll data conducted from July 7th to July 10th. If you look here, when it comes to whether the debt ceiling deal should include, what mix of tax increases and spending cuts should the debt deal include, Republicans are 26 to 74 tax increases versus spending cuts. Independents are 34% for tax increases, 66% for spending cuts. Democrats want 46% of the debt ceiling deal to represent tax increases versus 54% for spending cuts. Well, Barack Obama's proposal, here we go here, and I'll read it. One framework that President Obama has offered, which would reduce the debt by a reported $2 trillion, contains a mix of about 17% tax increases to 83% tax increases. So he's, to go back to this chart, he's to the right. He's to the right of Republicans, who want 26% versus 74%. And this is something that hasn't been lost on many of the sophisticated commentators. So take Ezra Klein. In the Washington Post this past Friday, July 15th, he said, quote, "In debt talks, Obama moves to the right, but Republicans won't go there with him." End of title of his column. And then he talks about how he's gone to the right of Republicans. And we really should have seen this a long time ago. So take, for example, January 2009, right after the inauguration, Time magazine, in an interview with Larry Summers, who was very much Obama's economics, guru, point man. The Times Time magazine rather, stated that, and then perhaps as early as March, they'll, meaning the Obama administration, launched their biggest lift with the beginnings of a plan to reform Social Security and Medicare, the two entitlement programs that even before the economy collapsed were threatening the Treasury with bankruptcy. So this plan to undermine the New Deal was something that Obama wanted from the get-go. And in fact, as Dean Baker has pointed out, and various editorials have pointed out, it is Obama who introduced Medicare and spending cuts, or Social Security cuts, especially, not Medicare, but I think it was Social Security cuts that were put on the table as a part of these debt ceiling negotiations by Barack Obama. It is Barack Obama that is single-handedly doing what Republicans couldn't do in the past when they tried, which is to undermine the New Deal. Just like it was Clinton that ended quote-unquote welfare as we knew it, the AIFDC program, aid to families with dependent children. It is Obama that is leading the charge to gut Social Security. And I just want to quote this very interesting article from Slate magazine by Michael Lind, an intellectual, very smart guys, and it's titled "Why the GOP Should Nominate Barack Obama in 2012." And he penned a hypothetical Obama acceptance speech at the Republican convention. And this is what Michael Lind said in this hypothetical speech. Quote, this is Obama giving a hypothetical speech. I have fought against the failed tradition of New Deal liberalism from the strongest possible position, the presidency. When the liberals wanted to nationalize the banks, I bailed them out and let their executives reap huge bonuses, thanks to the taxpayers. When the liberals wanted an expansion of Lyndon Johnson's big government Medicare, I said no and pushed for a version of the Heritage Foundation's healthcare coverage plan and what Mitt Romney did in Massachusetts. When the liberals wanted a bigger stimulus, I drew the line in the sand. When the liberals criticized the Bowles-Simpson plan to cut Social Security and Medicare, I praised it. When the liberals demanded tougher action against Chinese mercantilist policies that hurt our manufacturing industries, I said no and sided with the U.S. multinationals that want to appease the Chinese government. When the liberals wanted America to withdraw from Afghanistan, I sided with the neoconservatives and ordered the surge. When the voices of the old failed liberalism said that Congress has a part to play in authorizing foreign wars, I ignored that radical liberal assault on unchecked arbitrary presidential power and ordered the U.S. to war in Libya on my own authority. And Lind concludes his hypothetical acceptance speech at the Republican convention by Obama by stating, quote, America needs a president who can stand up to the kind of Wall Street bashing, big government, Franklin Roosevelt liberalism that thinks that 3 wars at one time are too many. And my record in the White House proves that I am that president. Indeed it does, Mr. President. You are nothing more than a conservative, right-winger, Republican wolf in democratic sheep's clothing. And I'll leave it at that. Thanks for watching.